Nothing contained in this podcast should be considered a substitute for professional medical advice. This content does not represent our respective employers and is purely the opinion of the podcast hosts. We are not your personal medical providers. Sorry, friends. So, if you have concerns or are seeking a diagnosis or treatment, please seek individual advice from a healthcare provider in your area. We are not liable for any risks associated with acting upon the information contained in this podcast. This is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only, so enjoy the ride.
Please drink responsibly and in moderation. Before drinking, please be sure to be of the legal drinking age for your country. We do not encourage the misuse of alcohol.
Welcome to Medical Media Mixer, the perfect cocktail. I'm Nicole Peniston, psychologist.
And I'm Tara Prisco, physician assistant.
I just realized we're matching today, both in black.
Yeah, it's actually like my work zip up. You can't see it has my name and where I work right here. I have not changed. I put this on at 7 this morning and it is now, what time is it? 9 something? I don't even know where my phone is.
Same, but I worked from home today, so just straight black shirt.
Yeah.
Sweatpants.
It's been busy. I have a random thing to tell you.
Go on.
I have flying squirrels in my attic.
I'm speechless. I don't know how to respond to that. Are you sure they're flying squirrels and not bats?
Yes, because we caught one.
Well, I didn't know they were native to the U.S.
So yes, so they glide, like they have like they put their arms
like
and legs
sugar
out.
Gliders.
Very similar to sugar gliders, except for they're nocturnal, and there are southern and northern ones, and you will never see them because they're nocturnal, unless you.
That's not true. You just only see them at night. Yeah,
but they say that like they're very stealthy, so they usually live in trees, but sometimes they find a warm spot in your attic. So a few weeks ago my oldest child kept saying she was hearing something, and then
you're like,
hear it.
Do I have to call for a psych consult?
And like tapping and scratching, but then we didn't hear it. Like we'd all be listening. We all hear nothing. So then one night, I think we finally heard it. And then my husband's flipping out. He's like, it's going to be a raccoon in the attic. I'm like, if it's a raccoon, it wouldn't be just like a little tap. It would be like stomp, stomp. You know what I mean? Like there'd be more to it. I was like, it's not. It's got to be birds, squirrels, something small. So finally he called the exterminator. They came and they looked and they were like, yeah, there's definitely a little evidence here of it. We have the blown in insulation in the attic. So it's like these big fluffy piles of insulation and they like make little buried holes in it. You can't see them. Like you can't find them. They're like snuggled up somewhere in the attic. They make no noise when you go up there. So he's like, listen, either you pay me $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. And I come back once a week and I check these traps, and we catch them, or you go buy these traps and you just check them yourself. So we bought the traps. They're humane traps, a little peanut butter on them. First couple nights we didn't catch any. And then one night I'm sleeping and the attic like stair thing is like right outside our bedroom. So my husband's like, I hear something. So you could hear it banging around and they're like, you caught me, let me out. He was super cute. He was not scary. He like a sugar glider, big, but he has big eyes because he's nocturnal and like big ears. And he was a little tiny thing.
I just Googled a picture and there's this one picture where it looks like he's like Superman flying right at you.
Yes, they're adorable. So the thing is, number one,
I'm sure they probably carry diseases though.
Not really. I mean, they're physically up there. There's no way for them to get anywhere out of the attic, like into the house, because so you have to take them like I think 6 or 7 miles away, or they will find their way back home. So
you're telling me you have to put them in your car?
So husband had to take the cage in the car at 1:30 in the morning and drive. I think it was a little over 5 miles, but it was on the other side of the parkway. So we figured that was a good barrier because they can't glide over the parkway. Like they have to go from tree to tree and let it go. And at first he didn't want to leave the cage, and then finally came out and he saw it like take a couple steps and just like glide. He named it Hermes. He talked to it the whole way. It was his friend. It was his new pet. But then we were going on vacation, so we didn't catch anymore. And they live apparently in families, so there are multiple.
So you took a mommy away from her babies.
I don't know if there's a mommy, a daddy, a baby. This could have been a baby. What am I supposed to do? The other option is put poison or snap traps. We're going to do that. So when we were going away, we put all the lights on in the attic, and we bought one of those supersonic things that makes those sounds that only little animals are supposed to hear. And we left that up there while we were gone and didn't leave the traps because we wouldn't want one to get stuck and starve to death. So we came back, and we have heard a little bit of sound, but we haven't caught anything since. We don't know how many there are. So it's just a guess until I catch them all, and we think we know where they came in. There's through the attic fan, there's like a little bend in the screening that's over our attic fan. We think they don't need much. They need like an inch or two to squeeze through. So yeah, I said that it was like Alvin Simon Theater, even though they weren't chipmunks. Yeah, but these little guys are cute. I don't really want them in my house, but it's better. I find them less invasive and scary like than mice or like a raccoon. So I'll take it. We just gotta find a way out.
That's fair. Congratulations. I don't know how to respond to that.
Our new pets.
Okay. Well, I hope Hermes is doing well. Or Mez, if you shall. Hermes is doing well out there.
Living their best life out there. Yeah. Hopefully. It was a nice park, there were trees. So
okay, well, good for him or her or them.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know how they identify.
They, them. Let's use gender neutral pronouns.
Yeah. So that's our recent saga. So I'm just waiting to catch another one. My husband's like, please not tonight. I really need a good night's sleep. Because you got to, like, what are you going to do? Leave them in there all night, like banging around, Do
they like
stressing
squeal
themselves
or
out?
make noises?
No, they were just stressed out. So they were like banging around. Then once he went and picked them up, it was like quiet.
It was scared, yeah.
But, so we don't want to torture it either. So you got to take it in the middle of the night. So
yeah. Well, best of luck to you all. I'm sorry. It could be worse. They could be bats.
I was saying I don't have bats in my belfry, so
Where is your belfry, though? Yeah, exactly.
So, any other interesting things? You have any?
I don't know how to follow that up. I really don't. I can't follow that up. The only follow up I have is that I really want a dog. And so I keep sending my mom TikToks of dogs getting adopted from shelters, like on their like adoption day, and like how they go from like sad to like super happy.
Oh.
And so I sent her a TikTok yesterday, and her response is, "I'm not crying, you're crying."
You and your mom are going to adopt a dog together. She's going to have like joint custody.
I said, "Don't you want to change a little being's life for the better?" And she was like, I did. And now she's 40-something years old. Like, thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
Deb with the one-liners. You got to love it.
She's full of shenanigans. It's where I get it from.
You got to get a doggy. They're so cute. I mean, they cost a lot of money when you need to board them and you need to travel and do all that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's pets in general.
Right. But just like companionship.
The joy that they bring.
Yes. What did you used to do with Andy Cat when you traveled?
I would board him at the vet. Or at like PetSmart or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Same cost. Same thing.
And I remember, was your dog when you were a kid? Oscar? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
I remember.
And you didn't know me then, but I had a Tara.
Oh, really?
I did. Very briefly. We had a Cocker Spaniel named Tara. And we found out soon after we got her that she was very sick. Aww. And so we returned her to where we purchased her from because she wasn't going to survive very long. So.
When I was in college, person who did like our advisory class, like freshman year you have to take, they had an Irish setter named Tara, and they would have them on campus in college.
In my dorm in college, we had several pets. P.S. We weren't supposed to have any pets in the dorms.
Right, I'm sure.
But someone had an alligator, and we had 2 ferrets and multiple birds and a hamster named Forrest, who we trained to go for walks on a piece of ribbon that we made a leash out of.
Laura and I had fish, and then we had asked an athlete who stayed during the break. Like everyone would go home for like winter break, and like certain sports they would have to stay, or if they're international students, was supposed to come to our room and feed the fish. But we came back to a science experiment.
Oh, no.
Let's just say that one of the fish that we got, the reason we ended up getting fish was so random. These wrestlers had piranhas, and they used to go to the pet store and buy like little dinky fish to feed the piranhas. And inside their tank, they had like a rum bottle or some sort of liquor bottle. And this one, we named him Rich because Survivor, the TV show, was a big thing at the time. And Rich was the first survivor.
Gosh, yes.
Rich went in the bottle and saved himself from the piranhas and lived for a while. So they're like, well, we can't kill this thing. So then they gave it to us, and then we decided we're going to get more fish, and then it turned into a whole thing, and then they all died. So.
Okay. I mean, that happens. Fish don't have a very extensive life.
I still have 3 fish that I inherited from my father when he passed.
You did say that, yeah.
3 out of the 13. I have no idea how long he had them, and they are giant goldfish, and all they do is really make a mess, and we have to clean their tank.
Is the one with the air bladder still with us, or has he gone?
Yes, that one like rallied. Another one died after that, but that one rallied and just like came back to life.
He's not ready to go. He has something to share with you first.
I don't really know what it is other than they eat their own poop, but that's
somebody's got to. Dogs and cats too, sometimes too. So.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So why don't we get down to business?
Yeah, what do we got today?
So we've got an interesting story, a true story, if you will. Okay. And I don't like it literally is a true story. I don't know why you said
if you will.
If you will. I mean, it's
just
a true
to make
story.
It fancy.
So my cocktail, we'll start off with that, is called the Shrinking Violet. He's kind of purple.
Dark.
Kind of dark. It's hard to tell in this lighting, but it is like a dark purple. Very simple. 1 ounce of creme de violette, and then you top with sparkling wine. That's it.
Okay.
Pretty tasty. Yeah. So it's good.
So it's like a Bellini or a mimosa type of a deal.
Yeah. Except no juice.
Right.
Just 2 alcohols.
Just alcohol. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm reading the recipe, and I was supposed to rim with lemon sugar. I didn't do that.
That's okay.
It's okay. I'm just drinking it. So
do you think I should have my lollipop from the last episode during this episode for your entertainment?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell my story and watch you eat a unicorn lollipop
I don't know.
and keep a straight face. I really don't think I can handle it.
I don't think I can do it.
Although
I want to see if it tastes good as a lollipop, though.
I mean, taste it. I mean, I can barely see you, but I know what you're doing, so it's making me...
It's a good lollipop, but I don't know how anyone can eat one of these lollipops seriously. In any way, shape, or form, no matter how old you are.
So moving on.
Okay, continue.
So I can stay appropriate.
Focused.
So I'm going to be talking today about the podcast that was then made into an Apple TV Plus show called The Shrink Next Door. Have you heard about this?
I have.
Okay. Have you actually either listened or watched?
I think, no, I haven't listened. I feel like I fell asleep to some other show, and then that came on next, and I woke up to the middle of an episode of it. That's about much I remember.
So the podcast and the show have the same title, The Shrink Next Door. I listened to it on, I want to say it was Wondery, but I know now it's available on, so it's a Wondery original, but it is available on all podcast platforms. So Apple, Amazon, all the same places you can listen to us.
Yeah.
And so what both of these things, so the show is, as I said, on Apple TV Plus, and it is based directly on the podcast. So I'm just going to be talking about the show, but it's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
So in the show, the incomparable Will Ferrell plays our hero, ? Marty Markowitz. That is his actual name. This is an actual person's name.
In real life.
Marty Markowitz. And he is kind of a down on his luck, very shy, socially awkward man who is quite wealthy. And then the next person that we meet or that is important is his sister Phyllis. And the two of them together are running the family business. So then we also come to find out that Marty has recently broken up in a relationship with someone and is really struggling with dealing with his new single life. And because of this contentious relationship that I'll get into in a minute, his sister Phyllis convinces him to go see a therapist. Now, this is taking place in, let me get the right time, in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
in New York. So rich people in the 80s in New York, and I'm just going to call it what it is because it does come up later. Rich Jewish people in New York in the 80s didn't go to therapists. They went to psychiatrists. And these are kind of old school psychiatrists who would do also the talk therapy, not just meds. They would do both. Not as many psychiatrists do that anymore. So that's what I give it for context. It's no judgments or anything. That's just what it was.
Just what it was at the time.
And it was very expensive. So that was why kind of it was targeted to a very specific demographic because it was very pricey. Most of these people weren't using insurance. They were just paying out of pocket for these sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So Phyllis convinces Marty to go to therapists because he's dealing with anxiety attacks, panic attacks, grief because both of their parents have recently died, left the family business to basically mostly Marty because Phyllis has kind of a shady history with money and spending. And so now Marty suddenly, this very shy, unassuming, shrinking Violet, that's for my drink, sort of fellow is now having to run a business and make business decisions. And it's just not his jam. It's not really him. And then recently he broke up with a girlfriend and she's kind of harassing him because, as I said, Marty is quite wealthy. We'll get into it in a minute about how wealthy Marty is. But his girlfriend is harassing him because she claims that he promised to send her to Mexico, I think, for vacation. And she still wants her vacation.
Okay.
Even though they broke up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of tells you the kind of guy that Marty is, that he's even entertaining this. Yeah. He's just a very sweet guy. And I do think as hilarious as Will Ferrell is, he's like perfectly played. Like he takes on this role of just this like meek, like sweet guy so well.
Like a teddy bear.
Yeah, like a big old teddy bear. And so from the start, when he meets the psychiatrist who's named Isaac Hirschkopf, or call him Dr. Ike, Dr. Ike is a little unusual from the start. Okay. So he goes to his first therapy session and it runs a little long. And so, but they're kind of getting into something. So Dr. Ike is like, well, like, let's go grab some lunch. Let's go get a sandwich or whatever. And then they end up playing basketball, like pick up basketball game with some random guys on the street.
Okay.
And then at the end of all this, at the end of this, Marty has to not only pay for Dr. Ike's lunch and pays for Dr. Ike to pick up some pictures he was having framed. He also has to pay him for a double session because they spend extra time together.
Right.
So we find out that right from the start, Dr. Ike maybe isn't on the up and up, but you do also see that in the course of this therapy session, he is really helping Marty kind of look at himself and dig into some things. So it's not like he's just this swindler who's playing Marty. He is doing actual therapy with him, and Marty is really kind of taking it into account about how to change his life, how to not get walked all over all the time, but is inadvertently getting manipulated by this psychiatrist. So when you're watching the show, and this is how the podcast goes too, so it's kind of like this flash forward, flash backward. We come to see that there's a party in this giant house in, I believe it's in the Hamptons, like gorgeous, giant, multi-million-dollar home, big, extravagant party. And you see Marty is basically like the guy who cleans up after the party. And you're just kind of like, okay, well, I don't know what this is all about. We later come to find out, and this is skipping ahead a bit, that this is Marty's house that Dr. Ike and his family have now moved into and are calling it his own. And Marty lives in kind of like a shed, a guest house.
Oh my God.
And is bankrolling everything for Dr. Ike.
Poor Marty.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is a true story. This actually happened to this poor man.
Wow.
So over the course of several episodes, we come to find out how this plays out. So as they're digging into their therapy sessions, Marty starts to talk a lot about how he doesn't know how to be a man and he doesn't know how to take on this role of now being the head of the company and the head of a family. He's single. He's very childlike at points. And so Dr. Ike decides that because Marty's 40th birthday is coming up, he should have a renewed bar mitzvah. So, and then there's like kind of these flashbacks to how Marty's original bat mitzvah wasn't that great. He's bar mitzvah. Bat mitzvah is for girls.
Women, girls, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know a whole lot about that. So essentially at his first bar mitzvah, he was very shy and was kind of anxious and it didn't go well. It wasn't this dream situation that it should have been. And so so Ike is talking Marty into do a replay, like do it over, do it on your own terms, do it so you feel like you're becoming a man, because that's essentially what this ceremony is to begin with. And we come to find out through a series of conversations between Dr. Ike and his wife that Dr. Ike never got to have a bar mitzvah. His family was very poor, didn't have all of that good stuff. And so he never really got to have this dream. And so he ends up doing his own bar mitzvah with Marty. Mm-hmm. Having this big extravagant party and everything like that. And in the course of it, Phyllis finds out that he's planning this, and she's like, what the fuck? Like,
right.
Also, just for a visual, Phyllis is played by Catherine Hahn, also incomparable. Okay. Love her.
Yes.
And she's got like the Long Island accent, and she's like, shoot straight from the hip. And she's like, what the fuck, Marty? Like, why are you doing this? She's amazing. I love her. So already she's kind of like, okay, I'm glad you're going to therapy, but what the fuck is happening?
Right.
And at this point, Marty has got this really close attachment to Dr. Ike, so he starts to push his sister away. And then we come to find out why Phyllis didn't get to be part of the company is she has spent a lot of money. Her husband divorced her, and so she lost a lot of money in that, and then spends a lot of money both on her children and taking care of herself and being a single mom, but also just hasn't made very smart choices. And so that's why Marty is now the head of this essentially multi-million-dollar estate that their family has. But when you see the way that both Marty and Phyllis live, they live very average, not poor, but not extravagant, super rich, to the point where at some point Marty tells Dr. Ike that he is concerned that Phyllis is going to break into his house and take money from the safe. Because she's down on her luck and, she's really going through stuff, and he kind of holds all the purse strings and was like, I'm not giving you any more money. So he's concerned about that. And in the course of this conversation starts to list out all of this money that he owns, that he has. And Dr. Ike is just dollar signs for eyeballs. And he's like, you have a house in the Hamptons, you have this, you have gold bars in your safe, you have
oh my goodness,
millions of dollars. And Marty like dresses like a schlub. He's like wearing, like Dr. Ike is wearing his like members only jacket and is like the super cool, 80s guy. And Marty's just, plaid pants and an afro and, is a hot mess. Yeah. So again, Phyllis is like, can you please open up the trust funds? I'm going to get a lawyer to help me with this divorce, so I'm not losing money and all this stuff. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And we come to find out this really is coming from Dr. Ike, because once he finds out how much money he has, he wants it all for himself. And so he starts to gets Marty to pay for more and more, to pay for extra sessions, to the point where, oh, poor Marty. It makes me sad because this actually happened.
Yeah, in real life.
Marty hires Dr. Ike as a organizational psychologist for his business. He has no training in organizational psych. He's being a consultant. At the same time that this is happening, Dr. Ike's wife gives birth to twin girls, which is very upsetting to Dr. Ike because he wanted a boy, not two girls. And so there's, he's having his own kind of identity crises and some difficulties about this. But still, he's continuing to get Marty to bankroll his life, to pay for his wife's things. So they are doing, what do they call it when it's like not a baptism, but for babies, but it's not a circumcision.
But it's not a circumcision. It's a bris when it's circumcision.
So whatever it is for girls. Yeah.
Like a naming ceremony. There's probably a name for it. I don't know.
So whatever he's, basically getting Marty to give him a bunch of money for all of that stuff too. And at the same time, Marty meets a girl. He goes out with her. Nothing really comes of it, but he's trying to move forward and become a man and become more independent. And right from the start, I think it's like their second or third date, this girl is like clocking that Dr. Ike is using him.
Yeah.
And she's like, Marty, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? And he basically is like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, whatever. But you can also see that Marty's starting to think like, okay, like I just met this girl. She seems really nice. I really like her. Like if she's seeing something, like what am I missing? To the point where he gets so anxious and has a panic attack that he actually has a heart attack.
Oh,
yeah. And while Marty's in the hospital, Dr. Ike spends $20,000 of his money at a charity auction. Yeah. So basically, flash forward, Ike's father passes away, and Marty goes to the funeral and is very supportive. And this is how Ike finds out about Marty's fancy house. And so essentially what's happening is Ike is really devastated by the loss of his father. Marty, thinking more that they're friends, not therapist-patient relationship, is like, I lost my dad. You helped me through it. Let me help you through this. Come to my house for the weekend. They never leave.
And they never leave. Yeah.
Yeah. They come to the house for the weekends. Like I said, Marty eventually gets relegated to the guest house. And it's continuing. It just gets worse and worse and worse, to the point where now Marty Ike is throwing these parties, giant parties at Marty's Hampton house, to the point where he's bussing in, like full ass buses, people from New York City to the Hamptons for these parties. They're theme parties. So there's like a luau party, and there's,
this is very 80s New York, right?
Super 80s, super cringy. A lot of this stuff would not fly these days. So Marty is kind of, at this point, he's confused. He really doesn't know what to think, but he's also at this point alienated his entire family. So all he has is Dr. Ike and Dr. Ike's family. So as part of him getting kind of relegated to the guest house, he builds a koi pond and he starts raising koi fish, and he becomes very, very attached to these fish. And then Marty has to go back into the hospital again he has to have a hernia surgery, some other medical emergency. And he has to go into the hospital, and he says to Ike, can you please just make sure you feed my fish while I'm gone? I'll be back. Just take care of my fish. Ike doesn't. His fish die.
That's the story.
I know. That's why I was like, wait a minute. And so Marty is devastated. Like, there's this one scene, it's so heartbreaking, where he literally like scoops out the dead fish and is like talking to him and has like a little funeral for the dead fish, because he's named all of his fish. So all of his fish, he knows who is who and what they like and what kind of food they like. And one's got something on his gills, and he's like, oh, how you doing with the stuff on your gills? And it's so cute. So he's devastated now, and he breaks down in front of Dr. Ike's wife, and she plays a really weird role, because you kind of know that like she knows what's going on, but also like she kind of keeps herself at enough distance so that she's not complicit, but like she's not blind to what's going on either. Like she knows she moved into this dude's fucking house with her kids. Like, come on. So this continues on for years. Jeez. How many years do you think this has happened?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to say 5.
We started in 1982. No further guesses?
Like 2000? Like,
this case went to court in 2021.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it lasted until around 2000, I want to say 15 or so. And I do have another link that maybe it'll have the exact dates. But essentially, after Marty loses his fish, he's starting to kind of take stock of like, okay, this dude is trashing my house. I'm living in the fucking garage. Like, what happened to my life? And he decides to slowly move away. And so he stops attending these therapy sessions. Now, this man lives in your fucking house. How are you not going to therapy? But you know what I mean? Like, he's starting to set boundaries for himself. Now, in the course of all of this, Ike convinces Marty to set up a foundation in New Jersey, which we know is really just a front for more money to go straight to Ike. But at this point, Marty gets a lawyer and starts looking into the foundation, and it is like, okay, like enough is enough. We need to stop this. And he does eventually reunite with Phyllis, his sister, who helps him kind of get his shit together, stand up for himself, and is reconnecting back with his family. And he sues Ike in an attempt to get his license revoked. But Ike keeps trying to pull Marty back in and be like, look, we went through all this. Like, we have a relationship together.
Manipulation continues. Yeah.
Yeah. And so eventually they were able to cut that relationship, and his license was eventually revoked, but not until 2021.
Jeez.
And unfortunately for Marty, he never returns to therapy, despite having stuff that he wants to work on, that he knows he needs to work on.
How do you ever trust someone?
Exactly. This relationship just ruins him, his trust of anything. And he literally lost his family for decades over this.
Wow.
And so the entire thing lasted 30 years.
Jeez. That's insane.
Yeah. 30 years of manipulation. So, and as I said, this is based on a true story. There'll be a link in the show notes to the New York Post article, sorry, about the real Marty, and has pictures of real Marty and real Dr. Ike and the whole experience that he went through.
Yeah.
And so at this point, so part of what I didn't go into, just because it's like a peripheral thing, is that Dr. Ike loved celebrities. And so that was a big lure for him to have all this money, to have this gorgeous house in the Hamptons. So there's a scene in the movie, which I don't think actually happened in real life, where like he invites over Lisa Rinna, who, plays herself, and, she's like doing it. But like you can tell these celebrities are like, who the hell is this weirdo? Like, okay, I'm at this party. Let me just like smile and take a picture.
Right. To
the point where he covers the entire hallway of Marty's home with pictures of Dr. Ike with celebrities. Oh. And then when it goes to trial, the true story said that Dr. Ike actually treated Gwyneth Paltrow and Courtney Love at different points in their lives. Oh, wow. So he did have some celebrity clients.
Yeah.
But also it's like, well, did he see them like once or twice? Like it doesn't seem like he saw them consistently.
Right.
So he was, like I said, stripped of his medical license, because he was a psychiatrist, not a psychologist. So he was stripped of his medical license in April of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, at the age of 71. So he'd been at this for some time.
Right. At that point, you're ready to retire anyway. So
yeah. And so he was found guilty by the Board of Professional Medical Conduct in New York of misconduct, negligence, and moral unfitness. They said that he lacked the insight into his misconduct, exhibiting no remorse, and continues to believe that he behaved appropriately, and that they found that neither retraining nor medical reeducation would help him or protect the public from his egocentricity. So pretty extreme. So you're probably like, hey, what are you going to talk about today?
Yeah, I mean, I assume patient, clinician relationships or something of the sort, but I would have assumed it the other way around. More likely for a patient to have this invasive thing and trying to attach themselves to the professional versus vice versa. That's not something that would have ever crossed my mind.
Yeah. And I think that is, what you're talking about, we hear more about because it becomes more dangerous or more stalking. Right. But truly, if we're looking at Marty's story, he's the true danger, the level of manipulation he had over this man.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was this trust, and I will say Marty, at least the way they portray him in the movie and the podcast, is he wasn't necessarily so savvy to the manipulation he was under until it was too late.
Right.
And even then there was a lot of denial, because think about it. He's now pulled away from his family. He has no one else. He's single. He's in his 40s. He has no children. Like this whole life he wanted for himself is gone.
Right.
And all he has is his therapist and his therapist's family.
So, but that's a very key thing about someone who's manipulating, is that they pull you away from all your other connections. That's
exactly
a huge part of it.
Exactly. And so apparently Marty Markowitz has a girlfriend in Thailand, and he's getting ready to enjoy his retirement.
Is she in Thailand?
I don't know.
Asking him for money?
I don't know. That's all they said. That's all this article says is he's looking to enjoy retirement and spend time with his girlfriend in Thailand.
I just hope that he's not being manipulated by somebody else.
I know. And I think that's the thing. There are a lot of people like that who are just so pure and so loving, and they just want what they give to others. They want that in return. And so I think they can be easily manipulated by the right people.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of sad that can happen. So I'm going to talk about manipulation tactics.
Okay.
And so this kind of goes both ways. So manipulative behavior is one of the many reasons why people, especially in my field, don't like working with people who have personality disorders, because manipulation can happen quite often. I think the misunderstanding with that is when someone has a true personality disorder, like narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, things like that. And I'm not going into all the personality disorders.
Yeah.
But what I will say is it's not always intentional.
Right.
Sometimes it's just, this is how, and a lot of these personality disorders come from a root of trauma or difficulties socially. And so it's become a way for them to feel loved and accepted.
Right. For them to cope with their own stuff. They use this.
Exactly. The difficulty is when you're working in a therapeutic relationship is not getting yourself sucked in.
Right. Right.
And in a therapeutic relationship, that's very hard because you're sitting with someone and you're telling them every single thing about your life. And a good therapist wants to connect with that person and wants to help them feel better and identify and help them. But in turn, you can be manipulated as the therapist as well.
Yeah.
You're a person too. It happens
Right.
to people.
Right.
And so it can happen very easily. And I think we talk more about when it's the patient doing it because they're usually doing it to more than just their therapist.
Right.
Where the therapist is usually doing it to at least one, if not multiple of their patients, but those patients aren't talking to each other.
Right.
Because of doctor-patient confidentiality. There's no trail. There's no paper trail of all of that stuff. And so it can be really, really hard to track. Now, the good thing is I don't think this happens quite as often, at least not to the extent that Marty experienced. But people who are good at manipulation can work in any field. So what's to stop them from being a therapist?
Yeah.
Or a psychiatrist or a medical doctor?
Right.
Or your children's teacher? It can be anyone.
Yeah.
So some of the things is psychological manipulation. It's a type of social influence that aims to change the behavior or perception of others through abusive, deceptive, or underhanded tactics. And so at points in the movie and the podcast, it seems more underhandedness, but it does become later deceptive because Ike is starting this foundation that he's really just using to filter money, where in the beginning, Marty thinks, okay, this is just charity. Like, charity's great. I've got money. Like, I should give back. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
And then it does become abusive when he's essentially making Marty like his little housemaid. He's having these parties and he's telling people this is his house when other people are like, dude, you don't fucking live here. And he's like, yeah, it's my house. And then Marty will be right there at the party and he's like, oh, can you go clean up those dishes? Or, oh, shouldn't we be on the grill right now? So he's definitely using those more severe tactics later on once he's kind of already got Marty in his web.
Right. And it's a position of power being a professional of that type.
Exactly.
That's definitely a position of power, even though you're not their boss, but you are someone who's well respected in society.
And I think that's the key with what's going on with Ike and Marty, and what I was always taught is always being very aware of the power differential in the therapy room, about despite how much you might identify with someone or you might joke around or you might be more casual, you do always have the upper hand. You're the one getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be really, really tricky for a lot of people. I've personally had patients say things to me when I'm like, oh, you canceled the last minute, I have to charge a late fee. And they're like, what, you're just in this for the money? I'm like, yeah, it's my fucking job.
It's my job. This is,
and I'm not like saying it that way to people, but like I do have to remind people, like, this is a business arrangement, like, and these are the business rules, and this is the way that it works. And, I'm not charging you a late fee because I'm trying to get off on something. I'm trying to make a living. Right. And yes, I know everything about you. And with my patients, I do think about them on off hours and wonder how they're doing, or I'll think of something, oh, I should say this in the next session, or we should work on that. Right. So it's like, it's not just a financial arrangement, but it is a financial arrangement. Right. And I think that can be really hard for some people, especially when we do have to have those difficult conversations about late fees or no shows, or, your credit card was declined, or your insurance changed and I don't take your insurance. And I think people can feel really hurt by that and feel like they're being manipulated, but that's not manipulation. It's not.
But it's easy to cross a line there, feeling so comfortable with somebody that they can interpret it as more of a relationship than it is.
Yeah. And I think people tend to assume that this type of manipulation happens more in like intimate partner relationships where they become abusive, or like cyberbullying, cults, things like that. But it can happen in any relationship that you have with someone. It just depends on the depth of it. It depends on the circumstances of what's going on, whether you realize it or not.
Right.
And so some examples can be, playing mind games, gaslighting, peer pressure. And then that's going to lead to damaged relationships, distrust, blurring of boundaries. It can really destroy people's trust, both in the therapeutic process, like it did with Marty, but also just trust in themselves. Like, how did I not see this? How did I not know this was happening? And so the steps to preventing that manipulation from happening are making peer connections, not just with your therapist, but with other people who are in therapy, or, other people who can kind of look at the situation from the outside, give you information about red flags, learning to identify and express your own feelings. So I think that was something really that Marty struggled with, is feeling his grief from losing his parents, feeling the discomfort of being placed in this new role, feeling disappointed in himself that he wasn't where he wanted to be in his life. Like he didn't know how to identify those feelings and to express them. And that's why he was having panic attacks. And that sounds very, psychodynamic, but it's really what's happening. When you're having a panic attack, it's because something is unfelt or unsaid. And then it's taking over your body in a somatic way.
Right.
Also, you want to make sure that you're respecting those boundaries. So, I think that's some of my worry with therapy becoming virtual and through text and apps is there's this expectation to be available 24/7.
At all times. Yep.
And I don't think that's necessarily respecting the therapist's boundaries, but it's also blurring those lines for the patient of saying, oh, well, I can just reach out to you anytime. No, like I had that happen recently where I had to kind of put my foot down and say to someone like business hours are 9 to 5 and I will respond to you during those business hours. And, just because I read your email at 9:00 at night doesn't mean that I'm going to respond.
Right.
Kind of setting those boundaries. And then also, things that I'm sure you're aware of with electronic communication and things like that, having those emergency numbers that if someone's in crisis, where to go in those off hours, not just abandoning them during that time.
Of course.
Helping people learn to control their moods and emotions, to self-regulate, to find their own motivation, to do their own things instead of waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. And I think that's a huge thing in certain types of therapy where people need that direction. And so that's why they go to therapy. Oh, my therapist is going to tell me what to do to handle this problem. No, you need to come to that conclusion on your own. And then learning how to stop that manipulation, which that's really the hardest part is you have to identify something before you can stop it. And if you don't see it happening.
Right. And I think it probably starts very small and then builds up. So you don't notice it until it's big.
Exactly. And that's what happened with Marty. But I think that's what happens with a lot of people is it's people who are very good at manipulation. It is so subtle that you don't see it at first. And it can be something as simple as, like I said, that first day that Marty had his session, Dr. Ike said, hey, you want to go grab a sandwich? You hungry? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, can you get the bill?
Right. Right there.
Exactly. Yeah. And it seems innocent. And someone like Marty, who is a people pleaser and wants to, he's not going to say no. He's going to be like, oh yeah, okay, I got cash. Or, oh, can I put on my card? They're not going to look into it that deeply. But I also think part of it too is this, as we said, that power differential, assuming that the person that you're working with is not going to manipulate you, that you can trust them.
Right.
And it can be hard to do. So there's other signs of emotional and psychological manipulation that can happen in any relationship. So this is not just about therapy, but it does work directly with that. So having the home court advantage, being in someone else's physical space and not feeling comfortable. And so now that person can control you because you're in their house, you're in their room, you're in their office, you're in their car, you're living on their compound. It can expand in any ways that you can think. Oh, this manipulation tactic that a lot of salespeople use. So not letting you speak, speaking over you, giving your whole spiel. And then, when they're saying, oh, well, but what, just keep kind of steamrolling with what your point is. Right. I learned forever ago, it's called the foot in the door technique. Have you heard about that? Yes. So part of what that is, and there's several factors to it, but it's kind of like going big and then what you really want is down here, but going big. So the person's like, well, no, but how about this? Now you've got your foot in the door. And now you can say, oh, well, if you don't want to do that, how about this? And that second proposal that you're putting is what you really wanted in the first place.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Because that's people want to be nice and they want to make you happy and they want to negotiate. So I tell, parents that all the time when I'm talking about kids and, needing an IEP or a 504 for school, I said, go in, asking for all the things. Right. And you really only want like 2 or 3 things.
It's true. That's true. You definitely have to. I mean, there's a lot of things in life like that, right? I mean, I don't think I'm a good haggler, but it's kind of that concept. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Manipulating the facts. So lying, excuse making, gaslighting, all that kind of stuff. And we'll probably talk about it at some point. But remember you were talking about the Mandela effect a while ago?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't finish it, but I watched 90% of the Black Mirror episode about that. And part of it in this particular episode is kind of that, manipulating someone to make them question what they know.
It's sometimes now online, people make these videos about Mandela effects that aren't Mandela effects.
Exactly.
And I'm like, wait a second. No. I'm like, no, that really did happen. And you're or you know what I mean? They're just making stuff up and they're all just calling it that. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the TikTok video. They're not saying it's Mandela effect, but it's like that. And it made me laugh, where it's this young girl who's probably not very well educated. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that. But she is basically like telling people like Hawaii is not part of the US. It can't be. It's an island. They have their own culture. They speak a different language. It's not part of the US. And it's like if someone isn't really like fact checking, they're like, oh, wait, yeah, you're right. Like the United States is all together. And yeah, we all speak the same language. And
oh, that's a little scary because that's how people believe a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. So another tactic is intellectual bullying. So that's throwing a lot of facts and numbers and statistics at you that make you second guess what you're thinking or feeling.
Yep.
So it's kind of like overpowering you.
Yeah, I've seen that. Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming you with red tape or procedures. Oh, you have to do X, Y, and Z before we can get to that. Or, you didn't do this before we can talk about this. So like making you feel like you have to do more work, using bureaucracy, paperwork, roadblocks to prevent you from getting to the point where you need to be. Mm-hmm. This is Psych 101, raising their voice and displaying negative emotions. Mm-hmm. So one of the very first things that you learn when you're going to be a psychologist is if your patient is up here, you need to be down here. So the louder someone else is, the softer I'm talking, the more words they're using, the less words I'm using. Because people tend to want to match. Yeah, but it's true. But because people, their normal instinct is to kind of want to match the energy. Yeah. And so if someone's energy is way too much, you want to take it down so they can take it down too. So in that way, that's a positive way. You're trying to calm someone down.
Right, right.
On the opposite, if you're going in real hot and aggressive and you're able to push that person's buttons, they're going to get aggressive and hot.
You're going to work them up. Yeah.
And then you're going to black out or see red. And I put that in quotes because that's literally what happens when we hit anger is we no longer are processing correctly. Right. And so we're only seeing colors or sounds or feeling. And then that's how other people can manipulate us. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing. Negative surprises. So this one is kind of funny where it's like someone is suddenly springing bad information or bad news on you. And then it makes you kind of backtrack and like, oh, okay, wait, I didn't expect that. Like now I have to rethink things. And so it's throwing you off.
Right.
Giving you little or no time to decide. So this is what those scammers do. Yeah, when they're like, pressure. I need your credit card number now. You have to give it to me now. I only have 5 minutes or else your computer's going to explode. You have to do it right now. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's almost like that's also a sales thing too. Like this deal, my boss said this deal is only good until like they were trying to get you to sign that paper for that car. It's only good for the next 5 minutes.
Even though it takes you 17 hours to buy a fucking car, right, but this deal is only good for 5 minutes.
Right. Exactly.
But I've been here for 17 hours. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Negative humor designed to poke fun at your weakness or to disempower you. So that's kind of like that backhanded compliment or, I forget what's that term, negging. So when someone gives you a negative compliment, that kind of stuff. Judging and criticizing you to make you feel inadequate all the time. Giving someone the silent treatment, pretending ignorance. Like, oh, I didn't know. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. That never happened. Guilt baiting. Victimhood. So always turning around like, oh my gosh, you did this to me. I didn't do anything to you. So these are all things that I think we see a lot more in those, like I said, intimate partner relationships. It can happen in families between, parents and children, things like that. But those are ways that people are manipulating you and you don't even realize it until after the fact. And I think the key is making sure that you are confident and strong enough in yourself to try to shut that down and not end up like Marty and 30 years later having lost everything.
Everything. All your money, just
all of his money, his family, his time. And that's something that comes up a lot that's very endearing in the film is like you kind of see Marty and it's complete silence. You just see him cleaning up after a party and you kind of just see him like looking at the shambles of his life. And it's like, how did this happen? Yeah. Why did this happen to me? How did this happen? How did I get here? How did I not see this? Right. And the really sad part when this all happens, it happens like shortly after his hernia surgery. So he's literally like cleaning up glasses and turned over tables and you see he's bleeding. Aww. And he has like this flashback to the hospital where the doctor's like, you have to rest. Like you can't do anything. And he looks down and he's like, I'm ruining myself, you know? Right. And there's just one very funny part of the film, which I do think happened in real life too, where Ike wants to collect these giant ceramic cows. I don't know if you've seen them. They actually have some around New Jersey in certain parts.
Oh, yeah.
but he has them at the house.
Okay.
And Marty like takes a sledgehammer to one of them, and
He's like, that's it.
yeah, he's like, fuck this cow. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So that was my story for today. A little sad, but I think
Yeah.
it's also important to talk about and to see, you know, we as professionals, the position of power we're in and how easily that can get turned on someone. Hopefully
Right.
we're not doing that.
No,
And, you know,
we're
we're
not
going
doing
into
that.
it. I hope I'm not doing it. I don't think I am. But like seeing the dangerousness of that, how you can ruin someone's perspective on an entire field of hell.
Right, right. I mean, I guess, you know, for that, there was a financial gain. I can't see something for a gain that I could ever, I'm very not a manipulative person
Yeah.
at all. But
I don't feel like I have the wherewithal to do it. Like it's a lot of work to do that constantly all the time.
I don't have it in me. But just understanding it to make sure you also don't fall victim to it, because that's something that could happen. I think at least in my setting, you know, if someone's trying to manipulate, it's for meds of some sort, drugs, or
it's easier to identify a little bit.
Yeah, that I can kind of see that coming. So I can't see much else that my patients would be trying to get out of me, but I'm sure there's other fields where it's a different dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, doing evaluations, it's very clear when people are coming in for an evaluation what they want the answer to be. And so that is a test for me essentially every day, where I say to people like, I know you wanted to hear X, but I'm telling you Y, and I'm telling you based on data, based on knowledge, based on this. And I understand if you feel differently, you're allowed to feel differently, but this is what my professional opinion is.
Right.
And like today I had someone who, you know, was coming in for an evaluation. I didn't diagnose them with that. And they actually were like, huh, yeah, I never thought about it like that. Yeah, no, that's great. So like that was a great interaction.
Refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think, you know, some people come in and they're like, I want this diagnosis so I can get this med, so I can do this, so I can do this. And from my perspective, I tell people, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we call it.
Yeah.
It's how we treat it, how we manage it. If we can fix it, great. If not, it's how do you cope with it?
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if I give you the diagnosis you're looking for or not. It's what do you do with what's going on with
the
you?
Information. I can see people who work in orthopedics or things like that for motor vehicle accidents and workers' comp injuries, that being a big area with that. And I have seen in my practice, a family member manipulating a patient, where I actually did report to Adult Protective Services. I don't think anything came of it, but I did it anyway. And I have another where they're being manipulated online, and now their family is going to intervene and actually drive across the country to basically have an intervention because this person is being manipulated by someone online and giving them all their money. So I've seen it in that way. And I'm kind of like, on my end, I don't have a whole lot of advice. Here's some resources. Call the police. You can call, you know, for whatever, a mobile outreach if there's, you know, like a problem with a little intervention. But that's kind of the only place that I would see it.
Yeah. In my field, I see it a lot, unfortunately, in teens and young adults who are on the spectrum being manipulated online. Because they're already struggling with social cues. And then when you take the facial expressions and the tone out of it, and now it's text, I've seen a lot of people get manipulated or coerced into sending nudes, into those kind of sexual, dangerous situations. Luckily, in all the situations that I've encountered, family members have gotten involved, if not immediately, then soon enough after. And there have been some legal cases pursued on that, but it can be really hard. And I think it's really, really hard for those folks because they already struggle with social things. And a lot of them flock to that online communication because it feels easier.
It does.
But then you can't see those warning signs, or if you've not been taught internet safety, which it blows my mind that there's so many people out there who are not taught internet safety. And I'm like, we're using it all day, every day. Yeah. Why are we not told those safety measures?
I think so. Technically, I think my kids are taught in school, but then putting it into practical application, there's a disconnect. Like, oh, I didn't realize if I shared this, oh yeah, that could happen. Like they are teaching them, but I think they have to almost kind of learn a lesson once to make it stick.
Yeah. I think too, it probably depends, because if it's someone that you've been chatting with on Discord for 2 years and now they ask for nudes, they were in it for the long game. But for you, you're just like, well, I know this person. I trust them. And, you know,
Right.
yeah, maybe this is a relationship. I can't have a relationship here. This is the only person who's interested. So yeah, I'm going to send them this, not realizing like, oh my gosh, this person's been playing me for a long time, or this person hacked and it's a name and that's very similar and I didn't catch it. You know, there's
Right.
lots of circumstances that I can see how it can be very easy for people to be manipulated, especially if you're already struggling socially, or if you've got depression or anxiety and you're just in a low place and you're like, these are the only people I can talk to. It can happen. I think for me, the scarier thing is these things that we hear about on, you know, in the news when teenagers of whatever age, you know, diagnosis, non-diagnosis, that are going to other countries or going across the states or across, you know, the nation to meet people.
Right.
And that's just scary.
All
to
the
me.
catfishing things.
Yeah.
Was it Dear Bobby? What's his name?
Sweet Bobby.
Sweet Bobby. I'm sorry.
Sweet Bobby. Did you watch Sweet Bobby?
I did.
Or listen to Sweet Bobby?
I did. I watched
Wasn't
it.
that a brain fuck?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I still can't get over that one. That was a lot.
There's, I mean, but yeah, I mean, the whole term catfish is there for a reason.
Yes, which maybe we'll have to cover in an episode once because that was the OG.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm mad at Neve. I sent them emails multiple times. I wanted to do my dissertation on catfish.
Oh, really?
I did. I had like a whole proposal and I sent it out and I never heard back from them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. They missed out. I'm awesome.
They missed out. Yeah. They don't know how cool we are.
They don't. Well, that was a lot. It was not a fun tale, but listen to the podcast. It's phenomenal. Watch the movie. Will Ferrell, Chef Kiss. He's phenomenal. Paul Rudd plays Dr. Ike.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
I know.
We had two Paul Rudd episodes back to back.
We had double Pauls and he is a versatile young man.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, because he can play a manipulative psychiatrist or a unicorn killer.
Or like a superhero.
Or the hottie stepbrother.
Yeah.
Cringy. How did we think that was okay?
I don't know.
It's a different time. It's a different time.
It was a different time. Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you for listening to Medical Media Mixer.
The perfect cocktail. Cheers. This is pretty tasty.
Creme. I haven't used creme de violet yet.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Medical Media Mixer podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps others find the show. Want to keep the conversation going? Follow us on social media. We're at Medical Media Mixer Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and on Pinterest, the Medical Media Mixer board.
If you'd like to support the show and help us grow, check us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/Medical Media Mixer Podcast. And on Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Medical Media Mixer Podcast. If you have a topic idea, feedback, or just want to say hi, send us an email at medicalmediamixer@gmail.com. You can also stream all of our episodes and find more info on our website, medicalmediamixer.podbean.com. We're available on all major podcast platforms, so no matter where you listen, we're there. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep mixing medicine and media.